What's up, guys? It's Talon. Today we're going to be coaching a Emerald Aatrox player. He's relatively new to the game. He said it's his second season playing, and so we're just going to go over, a lot of the basic things to kind of understand in terms of pushing waves and sort of just some basic understandings of jungle tracking and things like this in these two replays. If you're interested in coaching from a rank 5 sovereign player like myself, I play autofill, so I can kind of help coach you guys on any rules. It's just $15 an hour. Just DM me on Discord, Talon1169 on Discord, or through the link in the description as well. You can find my Discord there. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get right into it.
Aatrox.
Aatrox, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Is it what is the champ pool typically? Mostly Aatrox. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing, Shyvana is not really a super gank heavy jungler, and our jungler started the opposite side of us. So
yeah,
because of that, we're gonna want to trade relatively aggressively in this lane and try to hopefully have a timer when our jungler is actually here to maybe look for a kill angle. So even here, I don't like you backing off. And top lane is really about a lot of small things. So I'm gonna point out a lot of small things, and then we will write down the bigger notes at the end. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or whatever, obviously I'm gonna upload this to YouTube so you can go back and review the specific points. But we'll write out the general things. So again, to go over the small thing here, you have the advantage in lane against Mordekaiser. He's not the strongest early lane, and generally Aatrox is pretty good at taking control of the first wave because of his first ability. Obviously having 3 stacks, you have a lot of damage on it. And so you want to take control of the wave and try to hit the minions more than he hits the minions, so that once you get the last minion of this wave, you'll get level 2. And then when you have level 2, typically that's when you're going to use that advantage to start getting a bigger trade. And again, we're wanting to trade more aggressively because of the jungle pathing. And so here, you shouldn't back off like this. You should walk up and just Q here. That way, even if you miss him, you still hit the wave. And then you basically just pressure these 2 minions, make sure you're queuing so that they stay lower health rather than backing off. So that's kind of the first thing to look at so far. Which you do then do this later. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I was waiting for his ability.
Yeah, so his first ability does less damage in minions. So if you just stay in minions, it won't do too much damage to you. It only does a lot when it's isolated like it did here. So as long as you're just staying near your minions, then it's going to be fine. But overall, still the trading is good here. There's another thing though. You want to make sure you push this wave because you have more minions, so you're going to want to push it really quick, which looks like we are doing. So yeah, so you should just be using your first ability to get the wave here. You don't really want to fight, especially a champion with a pull near their turret like this. So your goal really is just to get this wave under the turret. And then what you would do after getting this wave under the turret, you would use this time where he's stuck under his turret clearing your wave to then go ward this camp here, the Crux. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason for that is because we want to spot the enemy jungle so that we can then know where the enemy jungle might be pathing towards. And it looks like Mordekaiser ends up trading us here. And so then it ends up working out fine in terms of a trade. But if it's a better player, it's not going to work like that. And we'd rather be trading once we're on level 3 when he's level 2, for example. So, because again, say their jungler was here, you would have no way of knowing, and then you would die soon. Because typically, junglers will start, and now we see their junglers, so we know obviously we're safe. But typically, junglers will start clearing at, or will start being in a position to gank you around 1 minute and 20 seconds. Depending on where they started. And so if you do not know where the enemy jungler started in terms of camps, around 1 minute and 20 seconds, you're a little bit fearful of a gank, which is why the specific minion wave that you ended up letting stay in this position, you really want to get that to crash under the tower, because if you get it to crash under the tower, it resets back to mid lane. And by the way, anytime you have questions, just stop me and ask, but does all that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I get it.
Oh, cool. And now we should be approaching boots. So your goal now, you're going to back for Mercury Treads because Mordekaiser is an AP champion. And so your goal should be to push this wave under the tower now and then recall for Mercury Treads. I don't know if you have enough gold for Mercury Treads right now, but I would trade aggressively here. So again, another thing to understand is our goal as a champion and what we want to do. So again, I said you want to recall. And so if you want to recall and he's this low, you might as well trade really aggressively in order to get that wave under the turret as fast as possible. So again, you also have a level advantage, which is another reason why trading is good here. So basically, when he's going up, I'm gonna skip a little forward here. When he's going up here, you should be walking at him and just trying to trade with him. Because again, Shyvana, not a very good ganker early game. We have our flash up and we want to get the wave under the turret. So we might as well take that time to trade with him and then make sure you're trading in the wave so your first ability is also hitting the wave at the same time. because then you're achieving 2 goals essentially of trading and pushing, which then you do here. So again, a lot of the things you're doing are good. It's just a little bit kind of like later than we could otherwise be doing it.
All right.
And then yeah, I'm assuming we're gonna recall here. Like at this point, you don't care that much about this wave. You can just recall. Looks like you're gonna grab the Scorpion.
Yeah.
And so grabbing the Scorpion isn't like the worst thing ever here if your goal is to push the wave. But like I said, had we pushed it quicker, we'd get a quicker recall off. The problem with getting the Scorpion here typically would be you're again in a position where you could get ganked. Now we know the enemy jungler again is probably not going to gank us, so it's fine. But you're not really gaining anything from this because had you recalled quicker, you would then get Mercury Treads. You're not going to get anything additional. Maybe you'll get a Longsword maximum as an additional buy, which doesn't really matter much. And so if you had done it earlier, it allows you to get back to lane quicker while being stronger because you're going to have, again, the Mercury Treads. And then their Mordekaiser is usually going to have to recall later than you, which means you get control over the next wave as he's stuck recalling. So then you can use that time to push the next wave and then go ward for vision and help your team on scuttle and things like that, which is why it's better to take that quicker recall rather than go for the Scorpion and kind of waste a little more time here.
Okay.
But again,
I think I stayed
go
here
ahead.
because he was low health.
Yeah.
So I was like dating him.
And that's a mistake that a lot of people will make when someone is low health. They'll like overstay instead of taking a smaller advantage in top lane, which again, the boots are going to be the most common time that we can get an advantage. Like I said, you then get to recall, you get control over future waves, and you, because you're winning this lane, you're going to have more gold than him, so you're going to have a stronger recall most likely. The problem with overstaying here is he's going to stay under tower, which means that he can pull you if you do over aggress onto him. He has a shield. He's a relatively tanky champion. Even though he is low health, he still is going to have his shield. He's getting close to level 5, which is also going to be dangerous for us. And we saw that the enemy jungler went from red side to blue side. And typically, like, because you're right, you saw her on your map around 120, 130. And so if you see someone who you know started on red side and then went back to blue side, you can expect them to go back to red side around 2 minutes and 30 seconds because this is when their camps are going to start spawning again. And so that means that the enemy jungler is soon going to come to you, and now once Shyvana's level 5, she can gank you. And so you're overextending in a situation where she could potentially gank you. Mordekaiser is not in a realistically killable situation because you also don't have your ignite up. And he's going to get level 5 soon. All of these reasons are why, even though it's nice because you have the advantage in health, sometimes you have to understand it's better to just take the item lead instead of over forcing when you don't have a realistic kill angle.
Okay.
He wastes his ignite so weird. He's ignited you twice when you're like full health. I don't know why. But again, we should just take a recall, which you do eventually. And so again, this ward is not the worst ward ever. But like I said, if you ward camps, you get way more information. And so when you have big control over a lane, I don't really need to pause here, but when you have like really big control over a lane like you did, you can take those more aggressive wards after you push a lane. So instead of warding when you're recalling like that, had you pushed that lane right away and then gone for a quick ward on a camp, it'd give you more information because then you'd see, because Shyvana is typically going to do her Krugs. You know what Krugs are, like the one right here. She's typically going to do those before she ganks you, and so that's going to be way more information than if you ward this bush like you did. You can just go through the lane. She can go through like here and just sweep, and then you won't even see it half the time. It's like just going to give you a lot less information basically. And so don't do that. Like the ward you did is a defensive ward when you're losing lane and when you don't have control. And then the ward that I'm talking about is when you're winning the lane. You have more aggression, basically.
Okay.
Because even now I'm expecting Shyvana could possibly be here. I think she's probably on red buff or here right now. She's probably not quite here. But once again, you have the lane pushing and you don't have information on their jungler. If she does come, it is relatively dangerous for you, which is why this isn't great. And like I said, we're trading kind of under the turret and then we wasted our ultimate. And so again, this is kind of the time where we don't love trading super aggressively, even though you're going to win the trade because of the jungle pathing. Now your jungler's on the same side of the map, so it's not the end of the world. And it looks like Shyvana sucks because the fact that she's bot side is extremely bad. Like she should never be bot side here, but she is. And so now that we see her, we can now be like, okay, this is our time to be aggressive. But you shouldn't have had that knowledge basically like at this point, kind of.
Yeah, I just saw my jungler there.
Yeah.
I was kind of not too worried.
And the fact that your jungler was there does make it better to trade more aggressively, but we would want to trade more on our side of the lane because you were trading against Mordekaiser close to his turret where he can easily hook you under the turret like he did, and it kind of forces us to ult early because like in the situation where we did ult early on, Like I think it was here when you get pulled under a turret, or it was, doesn't really matter specifically. But you're stuck near his turret where, again, if Siobhan is in a position, she can gank you, and your jungler's not actually like that close. Like he's on your side of the map, so you want to potentially bait trades, but you'd rather it's a little closer to the middle of the map. Because turret diving Mordekaiser is typically really hard, and like I said, we should expect their jungler to be here, even though they weren't. There should have been a relatively high likelihood that she is there, because it looks like her Krugs are even still up, I think. So yeah, it ended up working out, but because of those situations, we could have played it slightly differently. But I do like the idea of playing more aggressive when you see your jungler on the side of the map, and that's a good thing that you should continue to do, so. And you should just recall here. There's no reason not to just recall. You got like a kill, you got a lot of gold, just recall, take the items, and then come. When you overstay like this, again, it just puts us in a situation where now this Mordekaiser can, if he's smart, he'll trade really aggressively on you, and then he'll get you stuck in lane, and you just don't get a great recall off. It'd be a lot more effective just recall after. So that's going to be one of like the main bigger points that we'll kind of write down and speak about, is taking recall timers rather than trying to over push our leads, because we don't actually have a lead if we don't spend the golds.
Yeah, I get it.
What is the typical build you go? Is this Eclipse or what item?
Yeah, I usually build Eclipse first, unless it's like a Malphite or something with a lot of armor. Then I go Black Cleaver first.
Gotcha, yeah. You go Sundered Sky Idol on this champ? I feel like it's pretty good on him.
Yeah. Second.
Cool. I like that you're looking for rotation here. That's good because you're relatively strong. You have your ultimate up, you have Ignite, so it's good that you're kind of trying to look for a team fight. Like you could arguably stay topside and just play for plates, but you don't push that fast, so I'm happy for you to rotate. But we would want to try to force the objective quicker. Like I would ping the objective if I'm you, which it looks like you do now. And then yeah, you can just probably even go on Misfortune here. Like I feel like you might just be able to go on her. I don't quite know, but
the way everyone was
I don't
there.
know. Yeah, your team is kind of just not doing anything, so it's probably fine to just do it. Yeah, so again, I just want more I want less like focus on the mid and more focus on the objective, like in terms of just getting a vision and kind of being around it. It sucks that your team's not aware of it, and so that's kind of unfortunate. But like even here, I'd rather just kind of trade more around the objective, which it does look like you're aware of it still, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, Stead wasn't really.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for sure. Another thing here though, so at this point, again, we should kind of be in the mindset like, okay, my teammates, they're not really that aware of objectives. They're kind of just going to fight whenever. And so when this type of thing is happening, you have to now make sure that every time before you rotate to an objective or before you go for a fight, that you're pushing your lane first, because then the enemy are going to be denied gold. Like this Mordekaiser is spending too much time in mid. Had you simply gone to this wave and spent a couple seconds pushing it, you deny the Mordekaiser gold, and then you could rotate afterwards. Instead, we're kind of wasting a little bit of time just kind of hovering here, and then you do eventually go, which is still good, but we just want to push the wave a bit earlier. You could even grab Scorpion now and really pressure the turret, so. And then yeah, your Zed is really weird. He just hates objectives. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's still not the end of the world though. Like you scale well, and you're still ahead in golden in the game, so you don't need to like overforce anything. It's still fine. You should just be able to dash over the wall. I don't think you might be able to even fight this, but I don't really see a huge point in trying to take a 2v1. But it looks like it kind of works pretty well. But you're pretty strong in the game, so I guess it's fine.
Yeah, that's one of my problems actually. Like, usually the strongest one. Like, I do a lot of damage, but I can't translate that to winning games.
Yeah, and so what I would kind of identify at this point in the game for how we're gonna win the game is realistically like a lot of side lane pressure, and I would start to play like really aggressive in terms of pushing my lanes and then playing for turrets and trying to outplay the Mordekaiser, because like you're at a strong enough point. I think once you hit Eclipse especially, you'll be at a point where I think you, like we just saw, you could pretty much 1v2 Shyvana and Mordekaiser in a good situation when you have all your stuff up. So I would be at this point looking for a situation where I'm trying to create side lane pressure, because again, our team is fighting randomly. They're not really aware of objectives, all this type of stuff. And so I would still try to rotate to the next dragon. But apart from that, I'm going to play really hard for side lanes until that point if I'm you. So I'm going to farm up as much as possible to get Eclipse. Once you get Eclipse, I'm going to just start over-forcing on the turret, try to just bait out the Mordekaiser to fight me, because I'm pretty sure you're just going to hard beat him. And just basically draw as many people to you. And even if you die, as long as you have the lane pushed, you're not going to get punished as hard. So yeah, we're up 2k gold. Basically just play for the turret here. Once you push this turret, you can then go towards bot side, play for the bot side turret. Even if you give up a top turret, it's just about getting yourself turrets, getting yourself gold, even if you give some up to the enemy, because Mordekaiser doesn't split push that fast anyway. So that's basically how I would look to push this lead.
Okay. I went mid because Ari was going top, so
that's fine. You should go mid here, you push this wave, you push the next wave, and then you go back towards top side, because you still want to push your advantage. You don't want to be stuck here forever. And so you should just instantly push this wave, and then you can go back, which is exactly what it looks like you do. So that's perfectly fine.
okay.
I mean, it says he recalled. You can try to go for this until you see the Shyvana, but then I would go to top side instead of staying in mid here, because I don't really want to be stuck mid the whole time here.
Okay.
And in games like this too, where your team is like clearly making a lot of really weird plays, instead of worrying about like the game being played perfect in the sense that you're covering the right lane and everything, like you still want to, you know, keep the lane pushed and whatever, but once that happens, once you push the lane, you want to go back to trying to like push your lead on the person who you know you're really going to like be able to abuse for a lead, because when you end up fighting the person who is stronger, it puts you in a situation where you're a lot more likely to die, and you get stuck here in a situation like this where you get the kill, but it's really close, and then your Ahri's here, so now Mordekaiser is getting pushed on the other side. Well, nobody's covering the top lane. And so that's why I don't like want to overforce in mid lane, because it's just a lot more dangerous versus the top side. We can continue to push our lead a lot further. But in terms of the fight, it obviously worked out, so we'll take it. Again, though, recall. Like, there's a lot of times where you don't recall after getting kills or getting gold, and then you're half health, and it's just... You might as well recall, go back to the wave afterwards, and then you're able to pressure this turret. But instead, you kind of get stuck in a lot of situations, like in the lane for longer than you want to be, where you can't really do anything, because you have no pressure when you're, you know, half health and not on as many items as you could be, type of thing. Because let's say you recalled earlier here, right? Like then, like recalled 10 seconds ago, you could have gone back up here or gone towards mid. And then had you gone towards mid, you can get control of the wave instead of possibly losing this turret, and then you can use that control of the wave to then go and be in a better position for the team fight. Or again, if there wasn't as good of a scenario here, you could just go back to top side and continue pushing. Basically, like, we'd have a lot more, like we'd be able to be on the map quicker and make more plays, rather than now you're here 0 seconds before the objective is spawning, so then kind of in a worse spot. They have control over the wave, which leads to our Ahri getting caught out, and then that's where it kind of looks a little bit worse, but we're very strong, so it's probably ending up being fine for us. So and yeah, I mean, that's essentially what leads to this situation where, even though it's not really your fault that your teammates died, had you done that, they wouldn't have died, because we'd have control and we'd be in a position to kind of protect them. And basically just like your main issue so far is you're recalling. You're not taking advantage of like what we call tempo. You're basically just kind of fighting when you see angles to fight without really keeping track of your items or the jungler location or things like this kind of. And again, the objective timers too, making sure that we push the lanes before the objective.
Yeah, jungle tracking is actually... I always think about it, but I can't remember about to do it during the game. Like, I know I have to do it, but it's kind of hard still.
Yeah, it's hard, and that's why the first thing that's going to make it easier is the warding, because nobody can perfectly keep track of the jungler at all points in the game. So if you're warding camps more often, then you get better information in terms of where they're located and stuff like that. I don't really hate dying here that much. The only issue, let's look back at decision here. So your team is going the other side. We want to go bot side at this point. Again, like we were talking about, we're wanting to draw people into us to fight us. And we're going to want to do that on the opposite side of the objective. That way, if we do die on the side lane, they can't immediately go to the Baron. And if we do drag multiple people to us and we end up killing them, our team can do the Baron for free. Whereas if you die here, it's a lot worse because there's going to be more people on you most of the time, and you're just going to be more likely to die. So unfortunately, your team is not in the correct lane, and so that's why you want to go top side here, and I understand that. However, if we're in a good scenario, we want to go bot side here. So dying on this wave, that's why I don't necessarily hate it, because you need to cover it because you see your team not covering it. But after this wave, we should go back towards bot side, like once we respawn. Yeah, again, we should go bot side here at this point, and eventually, like, your team will react and start going to other sides. But we don't want to keep fighting top side here, because then we just get in a situation where the bot lane, we could be pressuring people and probably taking 1v1s and fighting them, and instead, team fights aren't going the best for us in a lot of these fights, so we don't want to really, like, continue to have those happen. Also, don't go so far up when your team is not necessarily in a great position to follow up. Like, you have your Zed here, but the rest of your team wasn't in a great position, so it's just a bit like over aggressive in my opinion to really try to force something, when again they're now pushing the bot side, as we can see, which is the main issue, and then they pressure the turret. So and also another thing to keep in mind, I don't mind because of the situation, because of the fact that there's 3 people here, but say that your entire team was bot side here and they were chasing one person, don't chase with them, because then the enemy, if they're smart, will do Baron. And so how do you just saw one person who you knew was dead and 3 of your teammates were there? Just go to the top side and just cover the Baron to make sure that that doesn't get taken. Again, this situation it's fine because there were 3, but just like something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
And at this point, you're also very strong, so your main goal is just to fight when you can. I think I might have wanted you to get... I think Mortal Reminder might have been better than Sorla's, just because of, like... Shyvana, I feel like, should be healing a lot. I guess she doesn't have Blade of the Rune King yet. But had she had Blade of the Rune King, I definitely want anti-heal. I don't know why she doesn't.
I don't really play against Shyvana that much, so... But watching the replay, I noticed that it was a smart purchase, like Mortal Reminder in this situation. Like I didn't notice in game that she was healing a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, in the future, like especially, I really look at when I'm deciding itemization, I look at the strongest members of the enemy team. So like Shyvana is really strong compared to everyone else here, and that's why Mortal Reminder is a big deal. If she was weaker, like she didn't have as much gold, then I wouldn't care as much. At this point, the fight is just lost. There's no reason to like over force when it's 4v2. We should just back off at this point, because if you die here, you lose the Baron. But like your goal now should just be to deny Baron so that you don't, grow this lead kind of that we have. But we kind of overforce, and then this is what happens, and now they can do Baron.
Yeah.
So just kind of learning when to give up on a lost fight, basically.
Yeah.
Again, I'd rather that you're bot side, but because of the fact that Ari's always covering it, we kind of just have to go here. But I don't want to trade too hard. I'd rather try to go towards mid or something, and just get control of that. And definitely use like pings to try to get your team to go on the correct side. If they go on the wrong side, it's not always something you can do anything about, but... This is good to get a pick on her. I mean, you are playing this game very well overall, though, for sure. Definitely carrying. It is a rough team that we got here. It definitely makes it harder. I think a lot of the things that would make it easier is if we're like kind of pushing our waves more before we're roaming. We're getting better vision of the enemy jungler early in the lane, and then in the lane we're playing more around like our level power spikes, and then making sure we recall on certain items. Just kind of have better tempo. Being aware of these objectives so that we're set up in a better position by pushing our waves beforehand, making sure we recall so that we can get control over the waves before the objective. These are the types of things that are going to put us in situations where even if our teammates are doing dumb things, we're still able to carry. Whereas you are still playing this game very well, but those smaller things make it so then our team will be more likely to sort of get caught in these situations, whatever. But
Yeah, that Shyvana was really fed that game.
yeah, and she's a really good late game champ, so it's hard if she gets fed.
Yeah.
This is a bit overzealous. I get, holy, whoa, okay, I did not expect that to work, but kind of worked. I mean, you kind of had to make a YOLO play because
Yeah. My reasoning was like, okay, we are like losing this game, so I was trying to steal it.
yeah, I mean, you have to get a miracle at Elder, and the Baron's not up, so I don't hate it. It's not the end of the world. I'm assuming they just win here because they have Elder, but we'll see. Yeah, and then they just end, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll go over the other game then, and then we'll write down some notes, but we kind of spoke about a lot of the main things. Obviously, this is a game where you did carry and did play well, and it, there's a few unfortunate things with teammates that make this one of the harder games to win, but even then, there are those things to work on that would make it a bit easier.
Yeah. This game, I wasn't playing that well, but I think we could have won if still.
You're into a Vayne top too. I like how you go Comet into Vayne top. That's nice.
Yeah.
So you started playing last season, or?
Yes, last season.
Honestly, like pretty impressive so far from only playing for a season. Like pretty good gameplay overall. And like even things like going Comet, it's like just something I wouldn't see that often. And you take control ward because you know that you're into a range matchup, so I also like that.
Yeah. I try to watch a lot of content, especially from other Aatrox OTP, so
Yeah,
to get better.
that's good. I definitely here, like I wouldn't I mean he's probably not got E yet, but I wouldn't want to position too much against walls because you might get condemned.
Yeah.
But usually, yeah, he won't have third ability until level 3, so. And yeah, just walking in the bush here even, like instead of just walking straight like this, because then he can Q and auto you. I'd rather just sit around the bush like a little more. It's not a huge deal, but if he was a little smarter, he would be pressuring harder with these autos, and then being in the bush would be better. But obviously then if he does third ability you into the wall, it's a little harder, but it's still fine because you'll have your dash and everything to get out. Also, do you have second wind in terms of rune?
Yes.
That's good, okay. I don't mind how you play this so far, though. I think it's pretty good so far. Obviously, you're going to lose early because this matchup is just not good early game.
Yeah, it sucks.
But you're still getting good poke on him, and even if you miss a little bit of CS, I mean, the only thing is don't position against this wall like this because you're getting, like, he should be third. He's really bad. Like, if he third abilities you, he gets free autos on you, and then he'll tumble into the wall for an auto reset, and then he'll get his passive proc, and you'll be, like, half health. But yeah, just next time, just position more around this side instead.
Yeah.
And then your jungle is here, so this is the time where we'll potentially look to trade more aggressively if we see an angle to go in on him. Like even here, I would walk up maybe to just try to freeze this just for a second, and then like just Q him. I wouldn't like hard, freeze it because obviously then that's just gonna bait him into autoing you, and then you're still gonna slightly lose the trade, but it's gonna make each person around half health. And we want that because our jungler's on our side of the map.
Oh.
Again, don't go on the wall, but... And now we're level 5, and again, this is the thing, I don't know if we already have 850 gold, but definitely on the next wave you'll get 850 gold, which, like 850 extra gold, which means you can get steel caps. And steel caps are amazing buy, obviously, into a range shop. So we want to recall on that, and so I want you trading way more aggressive on this wave. He has exhaust, he doesn't have ignite, so he doesn't have a good kill angle on you. Like, he won't just one-shot you. Worst case scenario, you have to flash out. I want you to hard trade with him. Again, it's the same as the other game. And I know obviously now your jungler is here. I'm talking about like 10 seconds beforehand before we noticed this. And obviously we have to help. And in hindsight, had we done what I'm about to say, we'd be able to help your jungler a lot better. So if you're trading really aggressively on the wave when you want to recall, it doesn't matter because you're going to recall after. So even if you get low health, no one cares. And then if you find a possible kill angle and you're also able to push the wave faster, you get control over the wave. So then you can help, like in a situation like this, to rotate for your teammate. Instead, Vayne's in a better position there because they have prio over the wave. So even though it is a hard matchup, once you hit that level 5 power spike and you still have your flash and ignite up, and you want to take a recall anyway, you might as well play aggressive and make sure you trade in the wave with him so that you can then find an angle to recall.
Okay.
And again, the wall thing is multiple times. Looks like you might have. I honestly think you can outplay him there, but because Jarvan's level 4, so if you just flash Jarvan E, I think you could have killed the Vayne. But since you still have your flash, you can push this next wave if you feel like it, and I'm fine with that as well. And then we're just taking a recall. But again, we just kind of need to understand, obviously getting the wall thing, but we need to understand that our goal is to recall and push, or to push and recall like quicker. Basically, on boots, you're most of the time going to want to recall as fast as possible. And he just got hit by a Jinx ult, so you should just, again, go look for him in a bush, because I'm pretty sure he should be like 1 HP. But if you want to recall here, I don't hate it though. It's fine. It's just mostly about, again, we need to understand item spikes better in terms of recalling so that we're not overstaying, because you're able to win most of these lanes. Like, this is one of the harder matchups you're going to play, and you're still going even in it and having potential kill angles. Like, gold-wise, you're only down 100, which is great. But we just need to be finding the better like recall angles quicker so that we can come back on better item spikes. Because what most players are going to do, just like you're doing, is they're going to overstay. And then when they overstay and you get back and you have steel caps and Vayne has only a longsword, for example, it's free. You can just, trade really aggressively. So pay a lot more attention to items. And again, you could have traded more aggressively because of your jungle's rotation. So we really do see the same kind of mistakes reoccurring. But again, I don't mind how everything's gone in terms of the result, because we're going even in a matchup that's hard anyway. So there's no reason to walk up after that. Yeah, but it's still like overall fine. This Vayne, if he's like a good player, he would be bullying you a lot harder and getting a lot more poke, but he's kind of not playing it great. I don't think that you should win this. Like, he just refuses to use his third ability. But if he third ability you right away, he can just win that. So I don't really love forcing yourself into a corner like that either. I know like the idea is I'm a melee champ, he's a range champ, I can just kill him. But I'm pretty sure if he plays it properly that he would kill you. If you're landing a different range top laner, like a Teemo or something, then I like forcing them into that. Or even if you're laning certain champions that are just weaker in terms of the 1v1 into you, and you want to force them into that, I'm perfectly fine with that. But also, I don't know if it's AP, it's AD misfortune. Okay, honestly, like, I think you just will do Eclipse into Death Dance into Randu and Soman, and I don't think you can die as a champion in this game, by the way. Like, for items, I don't know, do you know how all the items work, or are you still like
I have an idea, but I'm still learning.
Okay.
Like,
so the reason that, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I know like certain champions, like you can counter with certain items, but I'm not like an expert yet.
Yeah. Okay, so the main thing is, in this game, the reason that Randu and Soman is really good, they have multiple crit ADCs with Misfortune and Tristana, and obviously you're laning Vayne, so you're going to slow attack speed of 3 80 carries and stop crit from 2, because it heals you when people crit you, basically, for Randu and Soman, which is why it's a really good third item, and it gives you armor and health, so it basically gives you every stat that you're going to want apart from damage, which is why we have our first 2 items for damage. And Death Dance gives armor as well, which again, the armor is going to make Vayne not able to kill you as well as the other 80 carries. Vayne still has true damage, but only on their like passive, so you're still going to get more value from that, which is why we'd want to build it in that kind of way. But yeah, going out after the build, this is again another reoccurring mistake. So we're seeing the same things happen in back-to-back games, and that is, before going on the objective, you're supposed to go straight through lane and just focus on hitting the wave. Again, we don't, like, you try to cut him off and go for a kill. Now Vayne is too mobile to really die again if they don't just suck. So going for a cutoff like this is just going to put you in a situation where if Vayne is good, they can kite you and kill you because they'll just third ability or they'll first ability, third ability you on the wall, auto you, trade with you. They have flash if they have to. Like there's no way you can really kill Vayne if they don't suck here. And even if you do kill Vayne, you need to focus this wave because getting control over the wave and then this next wave means that we can then rotate, help our team at the fights first. So the time where you want to lane and trade and look for plays is when your jungler's on your side of the map or their jungler's not there and you see kill angles where there's nothing that you're necessarily losing. But you don't want to go for really hard trades unless it's a really, really free kill. In situations where we could potentially rotate to the objective after pushing the lane and stuff. So basically just push the lane first and then rotate to objectives and be more aware of objectives. Because again, now we just kind of get stuck here. We're not able to do a whole lot. And our strength really is going to be kind of joining team fights and being more of a front line because they're relatively squishy in the team fights. And so like our champ is going to be very good in that situation. And then you can also play for side lanes because you will, once you get to that 3-item spike that I spoke about, you'll just be able to 1v1 Vayne probably for free on the side lane, I'd imagine. So, and they don't really have anyone who can match you this game. But again, you see how Vayne once again has control over the wave. You're losing that gold. So even if you do get this objective, you're just going to lose that gold on the side lane if it pushes long enough, which is just denying us gold that we could have just gotten for free. And so yeah, now we lose flash. Not really in a position to fight once again, because if you get control over the wave, it changes everything. Because now you deny them gold. They either have to rotate, then you get a free fight, or they don't rotate, and even if you do die, worst case scenario, you're still denying them gold. Again, fight is one, go to top side right away. Don't start hitting this, you're just kind of sitting here trying to hit it. Just, yeah. We eventually go there, which is a little quicker with the decision making, everything. If it's a little more crisp, it just gives us more time to then be able to, for example, recall, so then we can get an item, be stronger for the fight when we come back, that type of thing. Because now we're half health here, we haven't gotten a recall off. If they do come, potentially dangerous for us. So
yeah.
and I would just get out right after, like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you get a kill. I mean, I don't hate how it ended up turning out, but we should have kind of noticed that our team wasn't really in a position to follow up and just tried like focus on getting the objective and getting out right away. But I mean, it's not the end of the world. But again, we can also see this kind of gold deficit is, you know, almost 3,000 for our team, and it's not purely because of one turret dying. It's also because of the fact that we're letting our waves kind of get pushed in as the opponents rotate for the fights while we're not pushing them. And so that's why your gold tier is 5,300 versus 5,400 on a Vayne when you have a kill. Even though they have 0 kills and they just have some assists, like they're still ending up being even gold with you. And it's a lane where you were having, like, you were doing fine in the trades. You could have farmed it a lot more. You should be up, because again, the Vayne is also making a lot of mistakes in terms of farming. Otherwise, they would be up probably 1,000 gold. So we just need to be focusing a lot more on that. Yeah. Might be able to kill. I'm not sure exactly how this goes. Looks close. I don't mind trying to find angles to kill in situations like this where there's like no objective up, there's nothing really. If you see an angle where you think you can kill, I don't mind trying it out, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then you learn for next time, so I never really hate stuff like that. It's just funny. They just don't notice you. I would just start recalling in the bush. Oh, that's unfortunate. Again, I don't necessarily hate these types of deaths. Like, these types of deaths are when no objective is up, we're looking for a potential fight to further our lead in the game that we're losing. Like, that's perfectly fine. And then at this point, this game is going to be in a situation where it's no longer really won or winnable. Again, those main issues that we spoke about in the early game are what lead to this being a lot harder. And then again, obviously our team is not the best. I do like that you play for the shutdown and you end up getting it, so that's really good. Our next goal should be that gold bounty on the top side turret and basically just becoming like super strong, because like I said, those 3 items, if if you get those 3 items, you can potentially carry fights anyway. So that's really going to be our main goal, is playing around the side as much as possible for gold bounties on the top side turret. And I'm just skipping through because I'm assuming we're going to see a lot of the same things that I'll just speak about. But again, this is an issue here. The first thing is you're down 7,000 gold. Don't play for the fight. Do what your talent's doing. Go up here and go for the gold bounties. Play opposite side a lot more. I think that's one thing that we need to understand as well. You can play on the opposite side of the objective much more frequently and look to trade things when we are behind to come back and stuff like that. Like, the main issue in general is that you're too focused on fighting and not focused enough on waves, turrets, these types of things.
Yeah. It's funny because last season I wasn't really team fighting much, so this season I was okay. I'm playing a team fight oriented champion, so I should join team fights more. Like, but I guess I'm not focusing on silence as much.
So the thing is, you want to be in every team fight for every objective. Like, anytime an objective is up, Baron, once it spawns, isn't going to be taken right away because it's just, you know, it's too hard to take it like early in the game unless you just get a free, like, a ton of kills on them. But in terms of dragons, you want to be at every dragon fight. So it's not about like it's not about not being able to rotate to the team fights. It's just finding the time to push the side lane before the objective. You need to be aware a minute and a half before the objective in terms of lane, usually like 45 seconds, and start pushing your wave so that then you have that wave pushing, the enemy have to respond to it, and then you get to come to the fight first. So it's more about understanding how to set up for the fights more than it's about I need a team fight or I don't need a team fight. So you just need to understand how to actually set up for those, which mainly involves keeping your lane pushed early enough in the fight or before the objective is spawning so that we can then have a position to rotate. But then when we fall so far behind like this and then we're still strong, then we just start playing for side laning because we know that's the most likely way where we can get a gold bounty on a turret. We can potentially win a 1v1 or a 1v2 rather than a team fight when we're so far behind was never really going to be won.
Okay.
Like, even here, again, I get that you see a kill, you want to try to go for it. But like, the reality is, if we just go up towards bot side here and we go for this turret bounty again, this is what's going to lead us to a possible win because the enemy might throw one time and then we're able to get Baron off it or whatever. When we do stuff like this, we're usually just going to end up dying at some point when the enemy comes because we don't actually know where the rest of the enemy are. If you see a kill, you know, angle, I get trying to go for it. I don't necessarily hate it, but usually it just leads to the fight being lost in the end when we could just be playing on side lane. Now, in this situation, it ends up kind of working out, but the fact that we're walking mid isn't really the correct situation. And like I said, usually this is still going to be the end result. Even in a fight that ended up looking really, really good for us, we're behind so much that everyone ends up dying regardless. Had we gone bot side, we're going to actually find a potential lead for us. And then, again, you need to understand the 3 items that we spoke about. That's when your champion can really 1v9. Once you hit those 3 items, you can start trying to join a team fight and really possibly fight because of their comp. Like, again, even here, a lot of times, so let's just go to earlier where we are. Like, say we're thinking about, again, how can we actually be able to join team fights? Because at this point, you might want to join the next team fight due to the fact that it's soul if they get it. And so you should be looking at the map and be like, okay, a minute until the dragon spawns. I need to start making sure this lane is pushed far enough so that the enemy can't push it, and then I can join a team fight. And so you get this, you should recall immediately. After you're recalling, you're then going to go up here for the next 30 seconds and push this as far as possible. And even if you die, that means that your team can potentially have control over the dragon. And at this point, like, that's perfectly fine. And Aatrox is a pretty good 1v2 champion. You have your ultimate and your flash. You're probably going to be fine to get, say, up to like here. And then once you push a wave that's up here, it's going to start naturally pushing. You don't have to go all the way up here to push it. So you push it at that point, and then you can start being able to rotate to the fight. Rather than going up a little longer, then you start recalling. Then we go towards mid first. We take a lot longer to get to here. So now we're not able to get on this wave. Had anyone pressured this wave, it's bad, right? Like, does that kind of make sense why we're putting ourselves in a harder spot to actually set up for objectives? Because now, again, you see how 0 seconds until the objective spawning, and we're here. We could have been here 15 seconds before, and then we have better setup and better vision around it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is going to be more important in a game that's actually close. Obviously, in this game where you're losing pretty hard, it doesn't really matter because you're probably going to lose regardless. You do kill her, though. She does throw randomly, so, I mean... kind of worked out. Again, the problem, though, is these waves, part of the reason that they're pushing so far under a turret is because of the fact that we're never, like, pushing our waves out as far as we can, so then one time that we die, they can take an entire inhib and then the lanes stay pushed, which is not entirely your fault. I'm just obviously only going to be pointing out the mistakes we make or the things we could do, because both of these games your teammates suck, and like that is just the reality of most Diamond and Emerald games, and so we just kind of have to play through that. Because you can see how not only is your team making a ton of errors, but even the enemy with the huge gold lead are making an insane amount of errors to make the game potentially winnable. But at this point, there isn't much that we can do. Again, we could set up by pushing the bot side a bit further, but even then it wouldn't really do anything, and we just lose. So I don't even think there's a point in going over the rest, because we kind of... I think we'll just start writing out some notes here, and then if you have any other questions, you can definitely ask. But yeah. Aatrox. So first thing we spoke about, I'm just going to go kind of thinking back to the first game and the start of the game. So the first thing we said was play more aggro on wave, aggro on first wave, in winning matchups for level 2 advantage. The second thing, look for recall as soon as we have boots by pushing wave under tower, because then we can get that recall, play around our item spike, and then just in general, recall more for item spikes, and don't overstay in lane with low health. Low health. Be more aware of objective spawn timers, and push our lane, our waves earlier, so we can rotate. Then, and again, anytime you have questions, just stop me, but I'm just gonna keep going over whatever things we spoke about that I can remember. When we are very behind, as a team, start using dragons to distract enemy and push other side of the dragon for gold bounties and to force 1v1s. Pay more attention to jungle location. For trading, which we spoke about the more like specific points of that, but that's just something to keep in mind for that. And then when Baron is spawning, try to go opposite side of Baron. And so something that I do want to reiterate in terms of the fact that you're a team fighting champion, your goal with side laning, I think I made a YouTube video about this. There's a difference between side laning and split pushing. Like split pushing is stuff that Jax or Fiora, they do in order to really, like, they're trying to kill the turret, they're trying to draw people to them, and they're trying to just stay on side all game. You're trying to push the lane so that you can go towards the mid and towards the team fights. So anytime that you see a wave pushing towards you on the map, meaning the enemy have more minions than you have, so it's going to start pushing towards your turret, you want to respond to that side. Usually it's going to be the opposite side of the map is that what you're going to be responding to. The opposite side of the map, meaning the opposite side of whatever major objective is going to be fought over next. And then you want to get that lane pushing, but as soon as that lane starts pushing, you can start rotating to other sides of the map if you see potential for fights or things like that. If you do just want to push your lead further because you're really strong and you know that you can take 1v1s or 1v2s, or you just want to find more gold in the side lane, you can also stay on the side lane longer. But basically, again, the goal of the side lane for you is just to have the lane pushing so you can rotate rather than necessarily the goal being to push turrets.
Yeah. Aatrox is not a very good pit pusher anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it takes forever to take a tower.
Exactly. Which is again, yeah. So you understand that.
Yeah.
That's good. And then something I forgot to mention for warding. For warding, when we do you know what prio is, or do I need to explain? Do you know what prio is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So for warding, when we have prio, we can crash the wave and ward a camp. An enemy jungle, or the enemy jungles camps. And then when we do not have prio, that annoyed me. When we do not have prio, we can have safer wards, basically. You kind of know those spots that you would typically ward. But yeah, just that warding thing is something to keep in mind. These are the main things I can think of from the game. Were there any other questions you had or anything like that?
Hang on. I wrote something. Hang on.
Okay, you're good. Take your time.
Oh yeah. About items. Like sometimes like in these videos I was ahead on gold, but my team wasn't. So should I build more offensive or defensive in that case? Like
Yeah,
because I know
so
that
yeah.
generally they say when you are behind you go offensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like but if my team is behind and I'm ahead, then what do I do?
Yeah, so it's going to depend on a lot of scenarios. So like let's look at, for example, this scenario in this game. So
Yeah.
if you're getting ahead in this game, even if your team is behind, Randuin's Omen third item is just amazing here. So it's a defensive item, but it's so good that it's going to give you more offense because you're going to be alive for so long, you're going to do more damage. Generally speaking, Aatrox is a champion, and most bruisers, their defensive items are going to be like bruiser items like Barracks Gauge, like Guardian Angel, things like that. And then sometimes, so basically what I'm saying, you're going to build health / damage items like Sterix Gauge or ones with mixed resistances like Twin Guard when the enemy comps are mixed damage types. So here they're mostly AD and they're mostly auto attackers. So you're going Randuin's Omen, which is a like specific comp oriented counter item, and typically third item and onwards is when you're going to have these types of items. Whereas say that there was nothing specific you would go, then you would just go Sterix Gauge, you go Black Cleaver, you go these types of items, right? Because they're more like good against everyone, and then Twin Guard would be like a fourth or fifth item. So when you're ahead, you're going to build as you would normally build. It's not going to be like a super specific like damage or defensive. It's more going to be based on the team comp, basically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sort of.
If there's more questions, continue to ask if you.
Well, can't think of anything right now. Like, mostly everything you have told me already about in the notes.
Yeah. You said it makes sense sort of for the item thing. Is there something I need to clarify on that?
Like you think you talk about the enemy comp, but so like in this case, random omens was a good choice.
Yeah.
So I could keep hitting them like and not dying.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a mix between offense and defense.
Yeah, because again, bruisers are champions that build very like usually most bruisers they'll have 2 damage items. Like what yours is Eclipse Under Sky usually, or can be Cleaver instead. And then after that, your third item onwards is just gonna be either defensive or a bruiser item. Like a bruiser item would be Black Cleaver or Sterix Gauge, for example. And then the full tank items would be basically go the Sterix Gauge, go the Black Cleaver, whatever, and then those types of items as your third and fourth item. And then your fifth item will be Twin Guard if you don't know what else to go. And then if you see a specific angle for Randuin's Omen, or if they have a lot of AP for Force of Nature, then you would go, or Spirit Visage, I guess, for your champion would be Spirit Visage. You would go those types of specific items instead.
Okay. Alright.
Okay, then I'll
think I-
copy paste and send you these notes.